So there's a passage in the Beatitudes, Matthew 5:9, you know it very well. It says, they shall be called children of God. Who? Who shall be called children of God? The peacemakers. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called children of God. And I want to say this, that peacemaking is not an activity. Peacemaking is not primarily an activity. It is, in terms of being a behavior. You're not being peaceful, you're actually releasing peace. Peacemakers release peace. That's where everything starts with the kingdom of God. That's why this is so fundamental. You think, why do you keep talking about the same things all the time? Because the basic things that we don't do are the reason we can't do the more complex things. Releasing peace is the activity of peacemakers. Now, the ambitious would like to look at a passage like that and say, oh, I want to be called a child of God, right? Stay in the light. I want to be called a child of God. Next week, hopefully, we're going to have these other lights, these new lights working, and maybe after the week after that, we'll have the other ones over here and over here. We got lots of lights coming in. But the ambitious person always looks at the commands of Jesus as behaviors that must be mimicked. Everything comes down to obedience. No, obedience is important, but that's the first step in a transition. All obedience does is says, I'm willing. I'm willing to give this a shot. Of course, what you discover is you can't do it. And when you die, then God says, okay, let me do it through you. That's the long-term process. But I get ahead of myself here. Peacemakers, blessed be the peacemakers, they shall be called children of God. So you can't just say, well, I want to be called a peacemaker, so I'm going to walk around saying, peace. Peace. What do you want most? World peace. You can pretend to be anything you can, but the release of peace is not a substance. It's a substance, it's not a behavior. It does translate into behaviors, and if all your behaviors are inconsistent with being a person of peace, then you might have to question the posture that you've assumed. But basically, God is saying there, I am establishing in the earth sons and daughters of God, and they will be makers of peace. You are called to be a maker of peace. Now, one of the things God is going to do in your life is going to show you the difference between peacemaking and peacekeeping. In the world, right, we have a version of peacemaking called peacekeeping. But it doesn't work because the making of peace can only be done by the children of God. The making of peace, I mean, anybody, any fool can draw a line and keep people, combatants, at a distance. That's not peace. That's the absence of conflict. Subduing conflict is a reasonable first measure if you want peace, but it doesn't get you anywhere close to where you want to be. Parents, right? You know, go to your rooms so I can have peace. Well, you have the absence of conflict, but you don't have peace. God is not interested in just the absence of conflict in His church amongst His people. He's interested in peace, where we look at one another and we value one another and we love one another and we are excited to be in each other's presence because there's something about you that reminds me of Jesus and God and brings the best out of me.